What if I told you that the most dangerous thing in your life isn't your failures, your enemies, or even your fears, but the toxic behaviors you've silently tolerated for far too long? Every day, you're exposed to people and situations that chip away at your inner peace, your self-respect, and your very identity. You stay silent, you smile, you accept it. But Stoicism, one of the most powerful ancient philosophies in history, warns us, some things must never be tolerated, because the cost of tolerance is your soul. In today's video, we're diving deep into 8 unacceptable behaviors that Stoicism says you must never tolerate if you value your mind, your time, and your destiny. These insights are not just ancient wisdom, they are survival tools for a chaotic world. If you're ready to stop being a doormat and start living with unshakable power, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let's awaken the Stoic within you. 1. Disrespect. No excuses ever. Let me tell you something most people learn too late in life. Disrespect never starts loud. It starts small. It starts with a joke at your expense, a subtle interruption, a comment that makes you feel smaller, dismissed, unseen. And what do? You laugh it off. You pretend it didn't sting. You stay silent, thinking silence is strength. But silence, in the face of repeated disrespect, is not strength. It's surrender. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, were clear on one thing. You are the guardian of your own dignity. No one else. Not your parents, not your partner, not society. You. And the moment you start tolerating words, looks, or actions that insult your worth, you hand over that guardianship. You give away your crown. People will treat you how you allow them to. That's not just a quote. It's a law, a universal law. And the Stoics understood this deeply. If someone repeatedly talks down to you, if they mock your dreams, if they cross your boundaries like they don't exist, that's not a communication issue. That's not just their personality. That is disrespect in its purest form. And when you don't confront it, when you don't walk away, when you make excuses for it, you're not just tolerating it, you're endorsing it. You are giving it permission to grow. And here's what makes it extreme. Disrespect multiplies. The longer you let it live, the stronger it becomes. It goes from small jokes to public embarrassment, from boundary crossing to emotional abuse, from being ignored to being erased. All because you thought patience would fix what only power can fix. Stoicism doesn't teach you to be passive. It teaches you to be precise. It tells you, cut off what poisons your peace. Whether it's a friend, a colleague, a lover, or even family. If they repeatedly disrespect you and show no change, you don't owe them another chance. You owe yourself freedom. Disrespect is not just about bad manners. It's a direct attack on your self-worth. And when you allow it, you become your own enemy. So ask yourself, how many times have you confused tolerance for strength? How many times have you let someone shrink your spirit just to keep the peace? And how much of your dignity are you willing to lose before you finally say, enough? Remember this. The Stoic doesn't shout. The Stoic doesn't beg. The Stoic walks away because silence is only powerful when it protects your soul, not when it silences your truth. 2. Emotional manipulation. Guilt is not a weapon. There's a form of control that doesn't come with chains, fists, or screams. It comes with tears, silence, guilt, and twisted affection. It's called emotional manipulation. And it's one of the most dangerous, invisible poisons you'll ever encounter. The Stoics taught us that emotions, while natural, must never override reason. Marcus Aurelius warned, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But what happens when someone intentionally uses emotion as a weapon to control your mind, your choices, and your inner peace? You've seen it before. Maybe you're living it now. Someone does something wrong, and instead of apologizing, they cry. They neglect you, and when you speak up, they go silent. They fail to meet your needs, and then accuse you of being ungrateful. This is not love. This is not care. This is manipulation dressed as emotion. A Stoic would never fall for it. Why? Because Stoicism is about clarity. And emotional manipulators thrive in confusion. They twist your reality until you question your sanity, doubt your truth, and feel guilty for simply setting boundaries. The Stoic response? Ruthless awareness. The ability to pause, observe, and say, "This is not about me. This is about control." And here's what makes it extreme. Emotional manipulation doesn't just hurt you once. It creates a cycle where you become addicted to pleasing the very person who is breaking you. You crave their approval, chase their comfort, and sacrifice your peace just to avoid conflict. That is not emotional connection. That is psychological warfare. Stoicism teaches you to be the master of your emotions, not a puppet to someone else's. And once you wake up to the game manipulators play, you stop explaining yourself to people who twist every word. You stop negotiating with guilt, and you stop apologizing for protecting your mental kingdom. Let this sink in. If someone uses your love, your loyalty, or your empathy against you, that's not a relationship. That's a prison built with invisible bars. You don't have to yell to reclaim your power. You don't have to argue to prove your worth. You just have to say, "I see what this is, and I will not participate." Because as the Stoic knows, you can't find peace by pleasing a manipulator. You find peace by walking away from one. 3. Blameshifting, the game of cowards. There is a type of person you must be very careful with, not because they scream, not because they fight, but because they never take responsibility for anything. When something goes wrong, when plans fail, when emotions explode, it's never their fault. Somehow, it's always on you. And Stoicism calls this out for what it truly is: cowardice. The Stoics believed that one of the highest virtues in life is responsibility. Owning your choices, facing your flaws, accepting what is yours to change, and leaving the rest. But a blame shifter avoids this like fire. They will twist every situation to protect their fragile ego, even if it means destroying your peace of mind. They'll say, "You made me do it. If you hadn't said that, I wouldn't have reacted. You're the reason I'm like this." They are always the victim, always misunderstood, always innocent, and you're the villain in their carefully crafted illusion. But here's what Stoicism teaches us. When someone refuses to look in the mirror, you are not responsible for cleaning their reflection. And this is where it gets extreme. Being around a blame shifter long enough will slowly start to make you believe it's your fault. You start apologizing for things you didn't do. You start walking on eggshells. You lose your sense of reality and trying to explain logic to someone who is committed to avoiding it. That is not a disagreement. That is emotional warfare. The Stoic, however, does not waste energy trying to convince a coward to grow up. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The wise don't argue with blame shifters. They don't plead for understanding. They simply walk away, with clarity, with calm, with power. Because here's the truth. When you constantly accept blame that isn't yours, you start carrying weights you were never meant to bear. You start shrinking just to keep someone else from breaking. And in the end, you forget who you really are. So stop trying to fix what someone refuses to face. Stop negotiating with people who are allergic to accountability. Your peace is not up for debate. The Stoic path is one of strength, not self-sacrifice. And if someone plays the blame game, let them play alone, because the only game you should be playing is mastering yourself. 4. Chaos and drama, the enemies of peace. There is something sacred that most people spend their whole lives chasing but never fully protect. Peace. Not the fake kind, where you pretend to be fine while your mind burns inside. Not the kind you find on vacation and lose the moment you return. I'm talking about real, unshakable, inner calm, the kind that the Stoics called tranquillitas animi, the tranquility of the soul. And once you've tasted that peace, even for a moment, chaos becomes unbearable. But here's the trap. Chaos rarely enters your life loudly. It sneaks in through people, through constant drama, gossip, petty arguments, unnecessary conflict. The person who always has a crisis, the one who fuels tension in every room, the one who turns your calm life into a daily soap opera. And if you're not careful, you become addicted to their storms without even realizing it. But a true Stoic? A Stoic guards their tranquility like a lion guards its den, not with fear, but with ferocity. If someone brings noise, confusion, and endless drama into your life, the Stoic doesn't try to fix them. The Stoic removes them, because drama is not entertainment. It's a toxin. And just like any toxin, prolonged exposure kills you slowly. First, your focus disappears, then your joy fades, then your purpose feels foggy. And before you know it, you're living in reaction mode, always solving someone else's mess, always being pulled into battles that aren't yours, always being drained by emotional vampires. And here's the truth you won't hear often. A calm life is not boring. It is power under control. Don't let the world convince you that peace means weakness. It doesn't. It means mastery. It means you've stopped letting people rent space in your mind for free. It means you no longer get pulled into arguments that go nowhere. It means you've learned the rare art of choosing stillness over noise. The Stoic doesn't chase chaos. The Stoic doesn't feed fire. The Stoic stands still while the world burns. Not because they don't care, but because they refuse to burn with it. So if someone is constantly turning your life into a battlefield of gossip, anxiety, and emotional explosions, cut them out without guilt. You don't need to explain peace to people who thrive on chaos. Let them live in storms while you rise in silence. Because in the end, your peace is your power. And the price of keeping that power is learning to walk away from anything that threatens it. 5. Victim mentality, a trap, disguised as innocence. There is a silent trap in this world. It wears the mask of pain, but beneath it lies something far more dangerous, a refusal to rise. This is the victim mentality. And while it may look harmless on the outside, Stoicism calls it out for what it truly is, a prison made of excuses. The Stoics never denied suffering. They didn't pretend that life was easy. In fact, they faced adversity head-on, with courage, with strength, and with radical self-responsibility. Epictetus was born a slave. Marcus Aurelius ruled during plagues and war. Yet none of them chose to stay in the shadows of their hardship. Why? Because Stoicism teaches a hard truth. Your pain may not be your fault, but your response to it is your responsibility. But victim mentality, it whispers a different message. Nothing is ever fair. I can't do anything about it. It's always someone else's fault. And over time, this thinking becomes a lifestyle, a comfort zone, a place where effort dies and blame thrives. People with a victim mindset don't just feel pain. They cling to it, wear it like armor, and use it to avoid growth. And here's the harsh reality. If you spend too long around them, they'll pull you down into their pit too. You'll start feeling guilty for your progress. You'll shrink yourself so they don't feel small. You'll offer advice, but they only want attention, not answers. And that's the trap. They seem innocent, even wounded. But their refusal to rise becomes an anchor tied to your spirit. You weren't built to carry someone else's refusal to grow. The Stoic does not mock suffering, but they don't surrender to it either. They transform it. They turn obstacles into fuel. And most importantly, they refuse to let someone else's stagnant mindset become their own limitation. Listen closely. Empathy does not mean enabling. Kindness does not mean becoming a crutch. Compassion does not mean letting someone else's story rewrite yours. If someone consistently chooses to live in victimhood, refusing growth, rejecting effort, and dragging others down into their endless storm of complaints, you must step back. Not with cruelty, not with ego, but with clarity. Because your life is not a rescue mission. You are not the solution to someone else's refusal to heal. And the longer you stay tied to someone who has no intention of rising, the more you delay your own ascension. You can care about someone and still walk away from their self-made prison. That's not abandonment, that's survival. That's Stoicism in action. 6. Constant negativity, the silent killer of progress. There is a force more dangerous than failure, more corrosive than betrayal, more suffocating than chaos. And it creeps in quietly, without warning, without noise. Negativity. Constant, relentless, poisonous. Negativity. You know the type. The person who always sees what's missing, never what's present. Who finds a problem for every solution. Who speaks like the world is doomed, everyone is fake, and nothing is ever good enough. They wear their pessimism like a badge of wisdom. But in reality, it's not wisdom, it's rot. Stoicism teaches that your mind is your kingdom, and what you allow into it, what you let surround you, eventually shapes you. If you spend every day around people who only complain, criticize, and condemn, don't be surprised when your fire begins to dim, when your courage begins to crumble, when your purpose feels hollow. Because negativity doesn't scream, it whispers. And over time, it rewires your brain to expect the worst, to doubt yourself, to fear the future, to stay small. That is why the Stoic is brutal when it comes to protecting their environment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind." Let that sink in. Negativity is not honesty. It's decay disguised as realism. It's not deep thinking. It's spiritual laziness. It doesn't bring clarity. It breeds paralysis. And here's the extreme truth most people ignore. You become what you're surrounded by. If the people in your life constantly see only what's wrong, eventually you will too. Your dreams will start to feel impossible. Your goals will seem foolish. Your light will feel like a threat, to them and to yourself. But the Stoic understands that protecting your environment is not selfish, it's survival. You don't let a leaking pipe flood your home. So why let a toxic voice flood your mind? If someone in your life cannot go a day without tearing things down, casting shadows on hope, or planting seeds of doubt in everything, you owe it to yourself to walk away. Not to hurt them, but to honor yourself. Because negativity isn't just a bad mood, it's a virus. And once it infects your spirit, it becomes the silent killer of progress, passion, and peace. So take this to heart. Your energy is currency. Don't waste it on people who bankrupt your soul. Your path is sacred. Your vision is rare. And if you want to rise, you must be ruthless about what you let near your mind. That's not ego. That's Stoicism. And it might just save your life. 7. Broken promises, words without honor. In a world drowning in empty talk and hollow gestures, there is one currency that never loses its value: integrity. And in the eyes of a Stoic, a person's word is not just sound, it is their soul made audible. Promises are not decorations. They are not casual sentences you throw into the wind and forget. Every promise is a thread, a bond between souls, a silent contract of trust. And when someone repeatedly breaks their promises, it's not just a flaw in behavior, it's a fracture in character. Stoicism doesn't care about charm. It doesn't care how sweet someone talks. It doesn't even care about intentions. It cares about one thing: action backed by honor. If someone constantly tells you they'll change and never does, if they promise to show up but never arrive, if they speak loyalty and live betrayal, then their words are not communication, they are manipulation. And here's what the Stoics would tell you: if a man's words and actions do not match, believe the actions. Because broken promises aren't harmless. They wear you down. They plant seeds of self-doubt. Am I asking too much? They trigger confusion. Maybe they meant well. And worst of all, they teach you to settle for inconsistency, when consistency is the birthplace of trust. A Stoic knows that trust is not a gift. It's not handed out blindly. Trust is earned through repetition, through sacrifice, through follow-through. And once broken, rebuilding it isn't cruelty. It's a test of character. If they won't repair it, if they keep letting their words drift further and further from their actions, you are not wrong to walk away. In fact, staying too long is not loyalty. It's self-betrayal. You cannot build a stable life on unstable people. You cannot walk a disciplined path with someone who doesn't respect their own word. And you sure as hell cannot grow with someone whose promises are just camouflage for convenience. The Stoic way is clear. Mean what you say, and say only what you mean. If someone in your life does not honor their words, they don't belong in your future. Full stop. This is not bitterness. This is not overreaction. This is self-respect. Because at the end of the day, your peace is worth more than their apologies. Your growth is worth more than their potential. And your character, the most sacred part of you, deserves to be protected from people who treat promises like toys. 8. Entitlement, the death of gratitude. There is a kind of person that doesn't yell, doesn't argue, doesn't even ask. They just take your time, your energy, your kindness, your patience, and they do it with one silent belief burning in their soul. You owe me. This is entitlement, the ugliest poison dressed as confidence. And the Stoics warned us about it long before it became the epidemic it is today. To a Stoic, nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is promised. Life owes you nothing except the opportunity to rise through effort. But the entitled mind doesn't see it that way. They believe they deserve attention without giving any in return. They expect favors without a shred of gratitude. They demand help, and when you say no, they call you selfish. But here's what they never understand. Your time is your life. Every second you give is a piece of you you'll never get back. And when someone consumes those seconds without appreciation, without effort, without even a thought to give something back, they are not your friend. They are your burden. Stoicism teaches reciprocity, not obligation. It teaches humility, not expectation. It teaches that everything good, from relationships to success to peace, must be earned. Entitled people are the opposite of this philosophy. They live off others. They drain your energy like it's endless. They believe love is owed, not built. They think support is a right, not a gift. And worst of all, they kill gratitude. Gratitude is the heartbeat of a Stoic. It's what keeps the soul grounded. It's the force that transforms what you have into more than enough. But entitlement? It chokes that gratitude. It replaces thank you with finally. It replaces I appreciate you with you should have done more. And if you allow that energy near you for too long, it will slowly, silently shape you. You'll feel resentful. You'll burn out. You'll lose the joy of giving because it's always taken for granted. So here is the Stoic truth, the brutal truth. You are not here to carry people who refuse to walk. You are not responsible for someone's lack of discipline, gratitude, or maturity. And you are not a source of free emotional labor for someone who believes the world and you owe them everything. Cut off entitlement the moment you see it. Not because you're cold, not because you're cruel, but because your energy is sacred. And you don't owe anyone your life just because they decided not to build their own. A real friend gives. A real friend grows. A real friend says thank you. Anything less is not friendship. It's emotional theft. And the Stoic says, you don't tolerate thieves in your home. So why tolerate them in your life? Seneca once said, you act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire. It's time to stop living like you have forever to fix your life. Start by refusing to tolerate what Stoicism warns against. The peace you crave begins with the boundaries you build. If this video hit you deep, like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to wake up to the truth. You weren't born to be a slave to toxic behavior. You were born to be stoic, unshakable, unbreakable, untouchable.